Hey, hey. All right, so I am running out of the house to go do a Walmart pickup, and I'm going by myself. I don't have the baby with me, and it's okay. It's gonna be like 20-30 minutes max. Some separation time. We're practicing since mama's got to go back to work soon too. So I thought I would finally give you guys the labor and delivery story on my way to Walmart. All right, so hopefully the sun is not too distracting. Maybe if I put the visor down, that would be better. Is that better? So let me just jump right in. So I don't have that much time. On March 18th, I decided to do the midwives brew. All right, so it is 10:55. I just finished taking a shower. So I am going to make the midwives brew. And then I'm gonna go to bed. And we'll see if something happens tonight or tomorrow. But I'm tired, so let's see what happens. I was very nervous about being induced at the hospital with Pitocin and all the things, just because I've had such a negative experience with it. So I decided to do the midwives brew. All right, so honestly, it's not that bad. It's just not, it's not great. Okay, so I'm all done. It wasn't great. It wasn't great. So I'm gonna go to bed now and we'll see what happens. And then on that night, so at like 1 a.m. on March 19th, I started to have like really intense contractions. All right, so we are on our way to the mall to walk around. I have been having consistent contractions since 1 a.m. this morning. They were like every 2 minutes apart, and then they've spaced out. So to about every like 5 to 7 minutes apart. They want me to go into the hospital right now, but I still think it's too early. So I'm gonna go walk around the mall and see if I can get things a little bit closer, a little bit stronger, before I head into the hospital.
Take the exit towards Rock.
I have hubby with me, and Katie from Life in the Monday took the kiddos to church so that we can see if we can walk this baby out. So today might be the day. Today might be the day. So my husband and I decided to go walk around the mall and try to work the baby out. Or try to get the contractions to at least get closer. And so we're walking around the mall. We went to a park and we're walking around the park. Like I said, Katie had all 4 of my kids. She took them to the park. She took them to church. I was at the park. She took them to church with her. And so they started to get a little closer, like maybe 8 minutes apart. But the intensity got a lot stronger. So I'm like, all right, let's go. At least go to the hospital, because I called my doctor and she was like, come in. You're 41 weeks pregnant. This is your 5th baby. Come in, go in and get checked out at least. So I went to go get checked out, and they're like, you're 3 centimeters dilated. But even for them, my contractions were pretty spaced out, like every 10 minutes and stuff like that. And my greatest fear was like, because I'm a VBAC, them being like, oh, you know, you have to be attached to the monitors, you have to have IV pulls, you got to do all these things. And I wanted to move, you know, so I didn't want to get admitted too early. But there was something funky with his heart rate when I had contractions. It just didn't move. So it was non-reactive. So it's not like it got super, it's not like it went down or it went up. It just stayed the same. And they wanted it to like be more wiggly instead of just straight all across, which that comes back later. So I get admitted, and once I get admitted, they're like, okay, we're gonna give your body a chance to work or whatever. Alrighty, so bouncing on the ball, trying to get things going, getting a bolus of fluids. All right, so I am still bouncing on the ball. They went ahead and broke my water, and it was clear, thank God, and to see if that will help the baby engage better. We are at 4 centimeters dilated, -2 station. Sorry, I'm looking at the board, and 90% of face. So we're getting there. I'm not in that much discomfort. Yeah. And a few hours later, they come and check me, and I haven't really progressed much, and my contractions haven't changed as well. So they're like, maybe if we give you a little bit of Pitocin, we can get things like started to make it come closer and make it more consistent and stuff like that to get your body working. I didn't really want to do it, but I'm like, okay. Like, all right, let's just go ahead and get it done, because by this point, I'm more worried about him and the fact that his heart rate's not really moving and stuff like that, that it's staying the same. It's not dropping, but it's staying the same. So they start the Pitocin. Nothing's happening. So they're like, okay, let's go ahead and now they want to insert something inside of me that's going to go on my uterus, that's going to check the intensity of the contractions to see if the contractions are doing anything. By this point, I'm like 5 centimeters dilated. It's been like 8 hours. And so since I've been in the hospital. So they go and they put this thing inside me, which I didn't want to do, because I know that like once you start, like I couldn't move now at all, because I was on a monitor where I could walk around the bed. Now once this thing is in, I can't move at all. And he started to have decelerations now with the contractions, which was what they were afraid of. All they're doing is trying to get things started, trying to get things like revved up, and it's not working. Like my contractions are still coming every 10 minutes. They're doing something, like, because I'm dilating slowly, because I think at this point I'm like 6 centimeters, so I'm dilating very slowly, but it's not getting closer together at all, no matter how much. Like they're giving me Pitocin and nothing's happening. Like it's not making my contractions come closer at all. They're still like every 10 to 15 minutes, like they are spaced out. So at some point they're like, they want to put something inside me that will get his heart rate, get a more accurate thing of his heart rate, and it like screws into his skull a little bit. I'm like, you want to do what? I'm a nurse, but I'm not an L&D nurse, and I didn't know they screwed things into baby skulls. So I called my sister-in-law, who's an L&D nurse. She's like, yeah, they just want to make sure that it's way more accurate in measuring to make sure that he's okay during the contractions, rather than the monitor that's outside. So I was like, okay, let's do this. But at that point, I'm like, let me get an epidural to see if maybe my body just needs to relax during the contractions, and then to see if that will get things started. So at this point, I'm like 7 centimeters dilated. I go in, I get an epidural, and they do the monitoring, and with every like contraction, his heart rate is like dropping. It's like decelerating, like it's not good. And I'm starting to get really nervous. At this point now, I've got all the possible interventions. They've done, everything possible that they could do. And now they're talking like C-section. They're like, we might need to get him out. And even though he was having decelerations with the contractions, he would quickly come back up. So I should mention that. and they were just being really patient with me because they know I didn't want no C-section. And so they were like, okay, we're just gonna we're monitoring him very closely. So I'm like, okay, cool. So now I get one huge contraction, and his heart rate goes down, like beep 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 beep, like down, and it's not coming back up. So they come in, they check me, and they're like, okay, you're like 9.5, almost there. We're gonna have you start pushing.
And bear down, big push, all in your bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And so they we start with every contraction. I don't have that many. They're still super far apart, so I don't have that many contractions to begin with, but with every one that I have, I start to push. Now I'm a really good pusher, y'all. I'm a really good pusher. And he's coming. And they're monitoring and things like that. And so all that is working out, but I guess I'm not pushing good enough. Or whatever. Like, I don't know what the situation is, but she tells me at some point, she's like, look, I don't want to use the vacuum, so I need you to push. And I'm just like, you don't got to tell me twice. My baby ain't, no, we not vacuuming nothing. So I just bear down and push and get him out. And he is beautiful and amazing. And it turns out that he had the cord wrapped around his neck. And so that's what was really causing the decrease in his heart rate. And it was wrapped around his neck several times. I think twice. And so it was like a good nuchal cord. But he was beautiful, and it was possibly one of my most traumatic birthing experiences, because of his heart rate and because of the amount of interventions that I had, minus the C-section. My husband said he was just living and breathing by the baby's heart rate. It's like every time his heart went down, he said he felt like he said it was very nerve-wracking, and really caused him a lot of anxiety and panic and things like that. And so all that to be said, you would think that after that dramatic birth that things would just be nice and calm, and it would be just a wonderful postpartum experience. But unfortunately, that was not the situation. So after we delivered him, they told me I need to go use the restroom. So I tried, but because of the epidural, I had no feeling. So I was not able to use the restroom. This is the first hospital that did straight caths rather than a Foley with somebody who had an epidural. And so I wasn't straight cathed for hours from 1 a.m. until 4 or 5 a.m. I wasn't straight cath. At some point, I told them that my bladder was kind of off to the side. And so they went and called the doctor to have them check me out. And when they checked me, the doctor pulled out the largest clot ever. Well, it wasn't the doctor, it was the, what do you call them? Resident. The resident pulled out a huge clot, at which point they realized that I'm hemorrhaging. So they call in more residents. They call in the actual doctor, and they start manually extracting clots. When I say that is the most painful experience of my life, worse than giving birth, it was just ridiculously painful. I'm a very calm birther, I guess. I don't do a lot of screaming when I'm in pain or anything like that. I screamed while they extracted clots from inside me. And it was really traumatic. They're giving me shots, like methogen shots, to stop the bleeding. They're starting bags of IV to stop the bleeding. I got blood. It was very, very much a life or death situation when it came to the clotting. Like, they at one point were considering possibly, rushing me back to the OR. But they were able, thank God, thank you, Lord, to get things under control. But it was very, very traumatic for my husband to watch. He said the clots were so big that it was almost like you delivered another baby. Like, that's how big the clot was. So it was very not good and scary. I ended up going back to L&D after being transferred to postpartum to be more closely monitored. But I was given morphine. Like, it was intense. But by the next day, everything had settled down. My blood transfusion worked. I was still very anemic from all that blood loss. I think they said I lost about 2 liters of blood from the birth to the clotting, to the hemorrhaging and all the things. It was very intense. Thankfully, like I said, the next day everything calmed down. But I hadn't slept. Labor itself was 25 hours. Then all this lasted throughout the night after the baby was born till the next day. I was exhausted. I'm so thankful for him. Like, I love my baby so much, but that was just a complete, rely on God type of situation. And it was, I was praying throughout the entire extraction process. I just remember a lot of pain. And it was very traumatic for my husband. It was very, very traumatic for him. So I wish I could have came in here and gave a beautiful labor and delivery story with all the things, but that was his labor and delivery postpartum story. Like I said, I am beyond thankful for him. He is so cute and worth all the pain, worth it all. But it wasn't easy. It was not easy to get him into this world. But I'm so happy he's here. I'm so happy he's here. So anyways, that's the labor and delivery story. I hope it didn't bum everybody out. But like I said, he's so worth it.